Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Draw Robots. Congratulations on making it through a long and epic first power-up season. Thanks for tuning in and taking a moment to step back, relax, and do some coloring with us and talk to amazing people in the FRC community. I'm your host, Christina Tia from Wordplay All Day and FRC 125, The Neutrons. Our producer for tonight's show is the amazing Tyler. And on today's episode, we have a very familiar voice from the FRC community. It is the amazing Corey Bounds.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on. We are so excited to have you on, and happy Teacher Appreciation Day because Corey is an amazing teacher.
Thank you. You too, Christine.
Thanks. And for those of you who don't know, Corey is an alumni of Team FRC 2903, the Neobots. So we're excited to have her on. First alumni representing. All right. And on tonight's show, for those of you who are going to be coloring along or just watching and, hanging out in the chat room, we're going to be going through some awesome stuff on this coloring sheet. We're going to talk about a little bit about First Power Up, Corey's experience as a game announcer, both at regular events and at the championship. We're going to be taking a look into the 2019 season for All Systems Go. First launch, no big deal. Super pumped about that. We're going to be coloring through some legendary MCs like Karthik and Mark Leone, and then looking ahead to the summer months with the official vegetable of FRC, IRI corn. So, Tyler, can you tell us a little bit about tonight's giveaways? We have the URL for tonight's coloring sheet in the chat, but we have 2 giveaways for this show. So can you tell us about those?
Well, Christine, you might be able to give us a better thing because they're coming from you at Wordplay All Day. So what are the couple that we're going to be giving away, and how can I tell people what they need to do to win?
So we have a sweet sticker bundle of one of my new favorite stickers, our Rachel Carson sticker, Woody Flower sticker, and a Power Up sticker.
So that's pretty sweet. So if you guys are interested in winning that bundle as well, what you have to do is don't forget to subscribe to First Updates Now. You can do so for free via Prime. So if your parents have Prime, you can link your account for free and get a subscription once per month. Or you can follow the channel. We definitely appreciate that as well. But if you do choose to subscribe, you get 5 times chance to win versus if you just follow. We're going to have a keyword you need later on. And if you do follow our Discord, by the way, which I'm just going to put in the chat right now if you want to join in that. We did announce that we might have an extra giveaway of a limited edition fun polo near the end of the show, but more details on that a little bit later. Corey doesn't really fully know this yet, but we're going to be quizzing her with some trivia in a little bit. And depending how she does, we might give away something extra. So I hope Corey's ready.
Oh, boy.
Let it be known I had nothing to do with this trivia. It was all Tyler. So.
Thanks, Tyler.
You're welcome. Enjoy the show.
All right. So, Corey, we're so excited to have you on tonight. I'm shamelessly a super fan of you. You were an amazing game announcer on Carson last year when my team competed there. So, like so many other awesome volunteers, you're an alumni of an FRC team. So can you tell us about how you kind of journeyed through First and how that led you to where you are now in the First community and in your kind of like work life and college life?
Yeah, of course. So I started actually when I was a junior in high school, which most people are surprised that I wasn't like a firstie my entire life. My 2903 was founded the lunacy year. I didn't compete that year. I joined for Breakaway, which was 2010, and then my senior year was 2011. My first year, I kind of dabbled in programming. My second year, I did a lot of leadership on the team. Big shout out to 2903. Their mentors were really influential, really awesome. We were a Boeing supported team up in the PNW. And I remember one of our mentors, he was talking to me about college majors, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, as many seniors do. And he talked about how he majored in physics because it, was something that showed that you can learn anything and was really applicable to a lot of different things. And And I majored in physics. It worked out pretty well. I went to Illinois Tech. It's a university in Chicago. While there's a collegiate robotics team, Illinois Tech Robotics, and they were responsible for running the majority of FTC in the state of Illinois at the time. So I got involved in that very quickly. I took on parts of the affiliate partner role for a while I was a freshman in college as kind of a awesome dream of a on-campus federal work-study job. It was the best to get paid like $10 an hour to do affiliate partner stuff. And ended up running a lot of FTC events, being involved in FTC events, volunteered at the Midwest Regional in 2012, which was my freshman year of college. I was our pit announcer. Don't really know how I fell into that. I didn't have any connections really at the time, but I got placed there. It was a good time, got me on a mic, got people hearing me. The following year, I got more involved doing FTC things as well as FRC things, a lot of volunteering. And the first time I game announced was for I have notes, I have to look it up, 2013, which was Frisbees at the Midwest Regional. And that was a blast. I was very lucky to be trained by a friend of mine, Chris, and Dan Green, who many of you know and still is a game announcer in Midwest. I remember Chris, like, when he was training me, literally grabbed me by the shoulders and started screaming in my face, "Are you excited?" And that kind of helped me develop some energy. Been game announcing since FTC and FRC, mostly in Chicago. I ventured out to Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, as well as Indiana. Worked a PNW event this year, which was a blast. The first time I ended up on Einstein as a volunteer actually was not as a game announcer, but as a field resetter. In 2013, I also did a lot of field reset in addition to my one event game announcing. And me and luckily a bunch of my other friends were volunteering. You can see us in that beautiful photo that I think has been found. And I was lucky enough to get on the field, be one of the chosen field crew members for Einstein for counting the Frisbees, which was a delight to do in that game. So that was my first trip to Einstein. It was very, very fun. After that, I continued volunteering. I got super lucky is how I got to champs as a game announcer. A friend of mine who I work with a lot, he got pulled into champs last second when another game announcer got sick, and he was going to be used again at the championship because he did a good job. He ended up doing his student teaching that year, and he was unable to get the time off, and he emailed back Blair, the lead MC, like, "Hey, I can't do champs this year, but I know a girl," and sent him a video of me announcing, and Blair replied back like, "Okay, sounds good. Turns out I'm actually going to work with her at Central Illinois," because Blair was coming down to Central Illinois. It was a year 2 event, so it was still kind of a baby event to help out. Worked with Blair. He asked me to come do champs, and that's kind of the story. So I've been doing champs since Recycle Rush as a game announcer. After Recycle Rush, for Stronghold, I got moved into doing what we call Voice of God, VOG, on Einstein, which is the person who says, like, "Now welcome Woody Flowers," that kind of thing. Which is really fun and also was really fun. And I did that for Stronghold, Steamworks, and then this year they swapped around the assignments a bit. I was not a part of that decision at all. I just kind of got a surprise email that's like, "Hey, we're going to swap the VOG announcer and game announcer for Einstein on Energy and at Ford Field." And that's what happened.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I currently teach in Chicago. I work with 2 FTC teams, 1 FRC team, part of the Midwest Regional Planning Committee and the FTC committee in Illinois.
Wow. A little bit of everything, huh?
A little bit of everything, yeah.
Nice. It's really cool to hear how you went from just field reset and, pit announcing and kind of worked your way up and now here you are, like the voice of Einstein. So that's really epic. So you were saying that when you were on a team in high school, like you kind of started late and then you were unsure of what you wanted to do. So now that you're a teacher, so what do you teach and what grades do you work with?
I currently teach high school. I teach at a school called St. Patrick High School in Chicago. I teach sophomores through seniors. I teach a lot of physics, 4 sections of physics. That's my degree and my background. And I also teach a elective robotics class, which is FTC in the classroom. So it's 25 kids split into 2 FTC teams, and we compete internally and also in Chicago and on the state level in Illinois.
That's really cool. That's
really
like living the dream right there. Like, physics and then, robotics built into the curriculum. That's fantastic.
It is 10-240 and 10-481 are my team numbers that are involved. Shambach Green and Shambach Gold, they're a good group of guys. So we do that in class and a little bit after school, and then we also run an FRC program, 101 Striker, after school as well.
That's really cool. So when, I mean, you do both FRC and FTC. Do you like game announce for FTC as well?
I do. I game announce FTC in Chicago. We're on the league model for FTC. So the way we operate our FTC structure in Chicago is there's these little tiny meets. Most people might be familiar with them, depending on where they're from. But for our qualifiers, we do the big pomp and circumstance of the show. So I game announce that. I MC a little bit. In FTC, the roles are a little less defined. So I kind of trade off for FTC.
Awesome. So I'm pumped that you're a teacher. I feel like I don't run into a lot of like females that have gone through FRC and end up, being teachers on the other side. So it's pretty awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience with like 2 champs and stuff this year? So I know that you said that you got to like swap around and do the actual game announcing on Einstein, but kind of take us through what it's like to be a game announcer, because it seems like it's an incredibly tasking job, especially for that length of time. We're all kind of exhausted by the end of the day and we're not even talking that much. So
game announcing at the championship is definitely a completely different animal than game announcing a regional or a district event. It has definitely some things that are way better about doing the championship versus a regional or a district. For example, one of the district events that I worked this season, I was the only game announcer. There was no one to relieve me, no one to train. So it was me for 113 matches straight, and it was really rough on me. And I got sick the following week. Usually my voice holds out until the end of the event, but I'll get sick right after. Luckily at Champs, one really nice thing that Blair takes care of us very, very well is every division, you might have noticed if you pay really close attention to your voices at Champs, every division has kind of a home GA and a home MC. And then every pair of divisions, every kind of dual division. So like, for example, Tesla and Carson, Daly and Archimedes, the other two I can't remember right now, they all have a reliever game announcer and a reliever MC. So you'll never actually work more than 2 hours straight, which is the most amazing thing at Champs, which is already operating at 125% for 3 days straight. It's really, really nice that pretty much everyone gets 2 hours off for every 3 hours they work. Gets you a chance to go hide in a room and take a nap or get some caffeine in you. The stress is definitely there more than at a home event, because all of a sudden I'm on a field and there's 125 teams from Michigan that I do not know between the two fields that I'm working on. And I have to walk around and figure out, how do I say Ypsilanti, or how do I say the name of this team? And that's always a challenge at the championship, which is exciting, but also a bit of a mess when you get there on Thursday morning and you have 20 minutes to figure out, okay, what teams are on my field? How am I going to triage what I need to say? Because it's, okay, I think you pronounce this way, but I definitely don't know how to pronounce this one. So I'm going to go figure out this one first. Luckily, it works out. I was born in Connecticut, went to high school in Washington, and now live in the Midwest. So it covers most of the very strange towns. So I usually get those right.
Where in Connecticut were you born?
I was born in southwestern Connecticut, a town called Seymour. Is where I spent my first 12 years.
I'm from super northern Connecticut, basically Massachusetts. So Connecticut represents.
Yes, I'm from the Yankees part of Connecticut, whereas you live in the Red Sox part of Connecticut.
Yeah. So how close to the championship do you kind of find out which field you're going to be working on? Because I know with volunteer coordinators, it's kind of left a secret until a week or so beforehand. And it's interesting hearing you talk about oh my gosh, how do I say that team's name or where they're from? Because you think about it, the game announcer is the one that has to go through all of that tough stuff. Being an MC is tricky too, but you're basically just reading off the number rather than, the town and the name. And there have been plenty of times where we're doing top 25 and I'm like, how do I say that town? I screwed up a part of Canada last week. So I can't even imagine for you. So what is that like? How much time do you have to prepare before the event? I'm very curious now.
So usually we get it about a week or so out. This year, I believe I got my field assignment on Sunday evening preceding the Detroit Championship. So the day after Houston had finished is when I got my, you're going to be on Carson Tesla as the division reliever. And at that time, the divisions are already out for the team. So you can go ahead and look up and start, okay, is there any match footage I can watch to figure this out? Which teams am I going to make sure I talk to? So usually you have a day or two to kind of figure it out. So when you are working champs with a regional, I mean, you know, weeks and weeks out ahead. So it's really easy to follow teams throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. And as far as like kind of narrating the game goes, you know, we have a lot of people that are, I don't know, I've experienced game announcers that are just telling you exactly what's going on. Like, what is kind of your approach to game announcing to engage not only the audience that knows exactly what's going on, but maybe people that aren't necessarily familiar with the game, or people that are watching from home?
I think one thing I do in particular that maybe is a little less common is I tend to do a lot of score announcements or a lot of score strategy kind of announcements. So really pointing out, okay, they've got home switch, their scale. That means they're scoring 2 per second. Over there on the other side, they've got 1 on their own switch. That's a point per second. So I tend to look at it a little bit more numerically, I think, than the average person does, and kind of break down where are points being scored and what is the other team going to do about that. I think that comes from the fact that I do so much FTC, where there is no live scoring in FTC. So what I'm used to doing in FTC is I'll keep score as the match goes, because literally no one has any idea what the score is in an FTC match until you're in Ford Field for this year.
That's insane.
Or Minute Maid. So like, for example, and I do FTC earlier in the season, obviously. So kind of my training comes in as, all right, they've got a column that's worth 20 points. They've got a row that's worth 10. In autonomous, they hit this. By my count, that's an unofficial score of 127 points for the Red Alliance, this much for the Blue Alliance. And I think that really spills over into my FRC game announcing, and people tend to like it. So that's a nice benefit.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely enjoy it a lot. So especially because this year, especially, it was like, wait, what's going on? Like, what's the score? So I definitely appreciate that. So I know that you do a lot of volunteering, but can you tell us about how you and your boyfriend kind of tackle each season when it comes to volunteering together?
Oh, that's very charming. So my boyfriend's name is Ryan. He just stepped out, so he's not hearing this conversation. He is also a first alum. He's an alum of FRC Team 2526 from Maple Grove, Minnesota. That's Team Crimson. I'd be impressed if he remembered all of my team details that well, but we'll see. And we trained together. We were trained at the same time to be announcers. He was actually kind of scouted out first to be an announcer. And then I tagged along and was like, I want to learn this too. And then the person training us was totally on board. It was sweet of them. Nice. So we tend to always plan to do Midwest. That's our home regional. It's we could take the public transit in Chicago and get there in 20 minutes. We can drive there in 10. So that's always our home regional. That's also where my team competes. We used to run a team together. They competed there. We typically also plan to do Central Illinois, which is St. Patrick's Day weekend. My current school is a Catholic high school, and we get St. Patrick's Day off, so that's been very convenient.
Nice.
And then we look around spring break, depending on when our spring break is. This year, spring break lined up with a PNW event that really wanted to pull me out because I was a PNW alum. So he tagged along. He just watched that one. But we tend to do 2, max 3 main season events. We both did 4 this year, which was a lot. We're pretty close with some of the people in Indiana, because Indiana used to compete at Midwest a lot before Indiana went district. And I had mentioned it's really convenient to the Indiana structure. I had mentioned, hey, it's really easy for me to come down to a Saturday, Sunday event. You do a lot of those because you're district. I'd love to do that. And I emceed for the first time this year. I actually thought it was a mistake that I was assigned as an MC, because I'd literally never done it before. And I got an email from an Indiana event. We worked the, what was it called? St. Joseph event in Indiana. And he and I both got assigned as an MC, and we were like, oh, that's a mistake. They meant game announcer. That's okay. We'll figure it out. We got there and we met the 2 game announcers, and we very quickly learned how to MC. And it was very fun. But yeah, we tend to work events together, and even if we're not both assigned, supporting each other at events. He followed me to the PNW to kind of support, and then I typically work a all girls event in Indiana called Indie Rage it's not the summer, it's in October, and he'll come to that and support. He's hopped into Scorekeep too, so we do it a lot. It's kind of our vacation a little bit, is hanging out together and doing first stuff.
Hey, it makes it better when you're doing it together. So
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. And you mentioned before briefly that you are on a planning committee. So which event do you help plan, and kind of what's your role in that?
So I help plan the Midwest Regional. I don't do a lot, like that's boots on the ground work for the Midwest Regional. So if anyone follows at Illinois First, the First Illinois Robotics social media presences, that's what I run. So for the state of Illinois, I run our Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and so on. Instagram that I neglect a little bit. So that's kind of my main volunteer role in Illinois, is running the Illinois First social media presence. I also help plan a lot of FTC events. So I am part of the committee in Chicago that coordinates the FTC events, and help with the state championship production side quite a bit. So talking about what's our script going to be, how are we going to introduce speakers, what's our flow going to be for FTC, because in FTC, unlike FRC, there's not really a script for you to follow. In FRC, you show up, you get your script, you run. It's really easy. FTC, there's not a book to tell you how to run an FTC event from the production side. Everyone does it completely differently.
Wow. That's a lot of work. Like, I know even just as like a committee chair, I have to go in and like plug in all the things into like, 10-page script that we get for FRC. So I can't even imagine like actually developing the content like from nothing. So kudos to you.
Thanks.
So fourth topic tonight is Tyler's lovely trivia for you. So
oh boy.
Before we get into questions from our lovely audience who have been so excited about you being on and learning more and more about you, we wanted to have some fun and see how good your power-up memory is with some trivia.
All right.
We mean Tyler, so if any of this is too hard, I blame him. So if you get
what do you blame me just for? You're part of this too, Christine. Come on.
I know. So if you get at least 3 out of the 5 questions correct, our producer Tyler is going to throw in a very special, not for sale, fun polo. I have this polo and I actually really, really like it. So if you get 3 out of 5 right, somebody's going to be a very lucky person to get this polo. So you can't find this anywhere. So no pressure, Corey, but and you can also call in one lifeline where we'll create a poll for our live audience to vote on what they think the answer is. So are you ready?
No, but I don't think I have a choice here.
Okay, well, I have so question number 1. How long is a power-up match? Is it A, 1 minute and 45 seconds, B, 2 minutes, C, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, or D, 2 minutes and 30 seconds?
2 minutes, 30 seconds, D.
Ding, ding, ding. That's 1. Nice. Oh, yeah. We got to get some like epic background music to create the tension too. All right. So question number 2. What was the first year that autonomous was implemented in a first robotics game? So was it A, 2003, B, 2004, C, 2005, or D, 2006?
Oh boy. I feel like the audience is a little young to be, I mean, if I don't know it, I feel like our audience is younger than I am. I'm gonna guess and say 2004.
Final answer?
No. Maybe 2005? Or the other direction, 2003.
Yes, that's
there we
the
go.
Answer. Hey.
Boom. Yep.
Correct.
Got it.
Go. Nailed it. So smart. All right, question number 3. So Corey, you are known in announcing for doing a great job in explaining penalties after a match is done. One example of a penalty that is called quite frequently is a G16. Is G16 A, don't mess with the opponents in their platform zone? B, no camping on the opponent's exchange zone? C, the null territory is a safe zone? Or D, there's a 5-second count on pins?
Oh boy. See, I know some of them. I don't know the names and numbers anymore. I'm gonna go with the platform Were there two platform options you gave me?
So I'll go over them again. It's A, don't
Thanks.
mess with the opponents in their platform zone.
Mhm.
B, no camping in the opponent's exchange zone. C, the null territory is a safe zone. Or D, there's a 5-second count on pins.
It's either A or C. Let's guess C, actually.
Yeah.
Yes! I knew it was A or C, because those ones are far more common than the other two.
Nice. So that's 3 for 3 right now. Tyler is killing it.
Okay, that's kind of 2.5 for 3, Christine.
I do want one more to have a legitimate win here.
Well, we have 2 more questions, so I'll get back.
You got that lifeline too. Don't forget.
So question 4, what is the first tiebreaker after ranking points for qualification rankings? Is it A, cumulative sum of auto points, B, cumulative parking and climbing score, C, cumulative sum of ownership points, or D, cumulative sum of vault points?
Let's poll on that one. That's something the community definitely knows. I'm narrowed down to 2, but I don't want to embarrass myself by being wrong. All right. So
for those of you who need a reminder, the question is, what is the first tiebreaker after ranking points for qualification rankings, not round robin, not, any of that other crazy stuff. So is it A, cumulative sum of auto points, B, cumulative parking and climbing score, C, sum of ownership points, or D, sum of vault points? And Tyler's creating a poll.
So I know for round robin, I know what it was for round robin. I know for round robin it was the end game points, but I feel like it's either auto or end game in quals, and I can't remember. It's usually auto in previous games, but I couldn't tell you for this game.
Yeah, round robin always, I feel like the last 2 years has been absolutely insane. Like, the amount of, ties and then tiebreakers, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and they always throw in weird things, which is why I'm not super confident on this one.
Mm-hmm. This year in Detroit, when they announced who was moving on from the round robin, I mean, besides the obvious of Strike Forces Alliance, I had no idea.
Yeah,
it was I don't know.
Especially only really seeing one of them, because I was parked in front of Energy, of course.
Yeah.
Only really able to see the action up close from one of them also is just I can't keep track of what's going on. There's 15 matches being played and something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. All right, people. So go ahead and cast your ballot and see if we can help out Corey, which is really just helping out all of you, because if Corey gets this right, then we are definitely giving away that polo, and the polo is real nice. So.
All right. They're convinced it's also the end game. So if they're convinced it's the end game, I'm going to agree with them that it's the end game.
All right. So.
Park and climb. I don't know. They're really convinced. Except now we're changing our mind a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna go against and say maybe our auto points. I feel like it might be auto.
Final answer?
Oh, you guys are final answering me. Let's go endgame. Park and climb. Let's do it.
Yep, you're right.
Yep, park and climb.
Way to go, people. Way to go, Corey. Way to go, audience.
Thanks, audience. I appreciate that. I only memorized the round robin tiebreakers.
That's what. Yes. So question 5 is going to be our last question, just for fun, because we're already giving away that polo, so somebody's going to be taking that home and wearing it. But question 5: which alliance won the Detroit Championship? So was it A, Archimedes, B, Carson, C, Curie, D, Daly, E, Darwin, or F, Tesla?
All right. Wasn't Carson, because they were the other team on there, because I worked with that alliance. It wasn't Tesla, because I worked with them. I could tell you the teams on it. My gut says Archimedes.
Final answer?
You're scaring me. Let's do it.
All right. So it was actually... Oops. My mic unmuted itself. It was actually D, Daly.
Daly, the other one next to it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's from the middle fields.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to keep track, and even this year, now that it's like all stretched out in a row, I found it was a lot more confusing. Even just like walking by the fields, I'm like, wait, which one are you? And could never quite remember where everything was. But
Yeah.
I mean, you just got 4 out of the 5 right. So
I tried. I mean, it's I'm always unimpressed with my knowledge of the FRC meta. Because I'm just not super involved in it. Maybe I'm too busy or just don't get super into it. One super embarrassing thing that happened was when we were doing our Detroit Ford Field mic check down for Einstein. We all left in the middle of the day to go make sure we sounded good and get EQ'd. And Yoji, one of the MCs for Ford Field, he just starts saying team numbers for me to introduce to practice introducing teams. And he starts with 111, Wild Sing from Arlington Heights, Illinois, which I know off the top of my head. And then he goes to 2451 and 2481. Now I know one of those is Ponage and one of those is Robotiers, but I still can never remember which is which, and was the biggest embarrassment.
Oh, it happens.
And then Stephanie quizzed me on Hawaiian teams, which was even more embarrassing because I didn't know Hawaiian Kids' number.
There's just too many to remember at this point, and I'm sure like going through all the game announcing, like, I don't know. Give yourself some credit.
So, Corey, what is the Hawaiian Kids team number now?
It starts with a 3. It's a 3-digit number that starts with 3. I can tell you that much.
There you go. That's all that matters.
Christine, can you fill it in? We'll put Christine 49? On the spot. 359. Come on.
59.
Oh, 359. Yeah,
it's not math.
We get complacent also. Game announcers also get complacent. I mean, we used to have like these paper tools, like literally 100 pages printed out of the FMS to tell us which teams were in which alliance stations. And now we have this beautiful application that a fellow game announcer named James made. And if you ever see a game announcer on an iPad, that's what they're using. And it's made me a little complacent. It's a wonderful little tool, but it's like, oh, it's going to tell me the team numbers. There's no hope of this being wrong. It's going to be perfect. And it's definitely freed up my brain for more important things.
Nice. Yeah, James is from Maine. He's in the New England district. And when he came out with that, people were super into it. So it's cool to see that, like, you know, it's been a huge tool for the game announcing community.
Oh, we all love it.
I can imagine because it's, I mean, I've seen like the stacks of paper that have just like lists and lists and lists. So sure, it's nice to A, save paper, and B, just be able to kind of like type in and look things up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to start our first giveaway. Tyler, is this the polo or is this going to be the sticker pack?
We can do the same keyword for both, and I'll just draw twice.
Perfect. So if you want to win something tonight, whether it's a polo or these 3 stickers that I have here that I'm ready to mail out to just about anybody, you need to type in this keyword here for our giveaway. It's going to be IDK Tyler. So I don't know, Tyler.
And why is that, Christine, that we chose that keyword?
Because I feel too much pressure coming up with keywords, and I'm tired tonight. So that was our giveaway phrase. Tyler chose it, to be fair.
Why am I being the scapegoat here for everything, by the way?
Throwing you under the bus.
Wow, I'm gonna mute myself now.
So while we're doing that, don't forget that subs get 5 times the chance to win giveaways, and you must follow the channel to enter. So good luck, everybody. Good luck to all of you. I hope somebody wins that polo and wears it all the time because it's pretty good. And if you're watching with a team, don't forget to log on and get into chat right now, and each person can have a chance to win. So good luck. So Corey, we've gotten a lot of questions lined up for you. Some of them during the show, some of them like way before the show even started because people were super pumped to have you on. So we're going to go through some of them. So Jess from FRC 3128, Aluminum Narwhals, epic team name. So her question is, I've only seen 2 female MCs, and you are the first game announcer. What advice do you have to other girls to get into a male-dominated field like announcing?
Specifically for women, my biggest advice would be to find an event that needs somebody and get trained at it. There are so many female-centric events and so many women's events. For example, there's Indie Rage in Indianapolis in October. I might go out to Girls Gen, which is a PNW event. I'm sure there is a women's empowerment first event somewhere near you. My big advice for that would be to email the coordinator of that and ask them, hey, I'm interested in learning how to announce. Can I at least shadow someone there? I know the first time Indie Rage happened, Tyler was actually our MC because there wasn't a woman to fill the role. So if somebody were to ask, I'm sure they absolutely would be put in that shadow position. I love training women at events. It's like my favorite thing to do. It's really exciting to see young women interested in the role, interested in public first roles. So, find an event. If it's an all-girls event, it's going to be much easier to get in. There is a little bit of a stigma about women on microphones being a little screechy. Find an event, ask, get trained is really the way to get in.
Awesome advice. So next question, Nathan from FRC 3507, what is this?
Robotheosis.
There you go. Of course you know it.
Their Chicago team.
How did you start at championships, and what did you do to get on Einstein? So we heard a little bit about that before, but love to hear about it again.
Yeah, so my very first role at championship actually was doing safety glasses in the FLL pits. So everyone starts somewhere. And then I moved into field reset the following year. I refereed the year after that, which would have been aerial assist. And then it's a combination of skill, being very comfortable with what you do and really doing your homework. And also a little bit of luck. I got lucky that I got to work with Blair at an event and have him watch me and train me firsthand and kind of talk to me about making my skills at a place where they can get into championship. So, keep at it. Everyone starts somewhere. And being involved, I think, really is the key. I don't know a single person in the announcer community who just walked in to become an announcer, at least not recently. There are people who are mentors, or people who volunteer on planning committees, or people who were refereeing for a while and they want to try something. I find that refereeing has made me a much better game announcer because I know the rules in and out. Mentoring has made me a much better game announcer. So, do your homework, start somewhere. Don't be afraid to ask to get trained.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And like you said before, like there's so many off seasons. I know in New England, especially, like we use our off seasons to like give people the opportunity to try out a role, even if it's a student that wants to like ref or MC. Like, why not? It's like the most controlled environment possible to let people try out new things. So,
oh yeah, and people are much more willing to train at off seasons. Like at a regional event where I'm one of two announcers at a regional, it's a lot more stressful. We're on the 7-minute match schedule. I'm not going to have as much time to pull you aside and listen to you do a match off mic. At an off season, you're lucky if you're running a 10-minute match schedule half the time. So it gives you a lot of time to really work with someone really closely. As far as I know, most announcers I've worked with are super willing to train people. I also know a lot of FTC and FLL events that are desperate for announcer volunteers. I get asked to do the FLL state championship in Illinois every year, even though I've never done FLL in my life. I don't know much about it. So, always look. You're not going to get your perfect assignment right away.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question from Caltran. He wants to know, any advice on getting used to making the mic do the work when you're announcing? I tend to get excited when things are happening and find my volume raises. And doing that a bunch over a weekend tends to wreck my voice by the time Sunday rolls around.
I wish I had better advice than practice, because that's also a thing I really struggled with for a long time. I'm not even that good at it, in all honesty. I'm just very good at breathing, so I don't wreck my voice as a result afterward. I'll practice a lot without a mic in front of me and try to really replicate that volume with the mic. When I get excited, I try to put it into formats that aren't necessarily volume. So I'll do a lot of things where I play with my tone to show excitement as opposed to playing with my volume to show excitement. And kind of those strategies, along with lots of breathing exercise, really focusing on breathing from your gut, not from your chest, has been a lot of help from me. I'm also lucky in that I talk every day for a living as a teacher, so I usually am able to take care of myself pretty well.
I was going to say, I feel like being a teacher kind of sets you up for success in that, because I know, like, I very rarely, well, not lately, but like I tend not to yell to get my voice to carry in the classroom. So when I do actually yell or raise my voice, like my students are all like, like she's being loud now, like what's going on? So I'm sure that like your teaching skills, like really, or your teacher voice, I guess is what they call it in our line of work, really carried over into your game announcing, I bet. Because you definitely hear like you're totally able to control, like you said, like the tones and kind of the way that your voice carries rather than the volume of it. So that's awesome. All right. Let's see who's next. We have Dan from FRC 340. Greater Rochester Robotics. He wants to know, how do you keep the commentary flowing and avoid awkward moments of silence during the match? That's a good one.
So first of all, I like to, first I always just try to tell myself that a little bit of silence is not a bad thing. But that's one thing I always tell new announcers is if you have to wait a beat, that's totally okay. Don't let it turn into like a 4-second pause though. That's when it gets awkward. At that time, that's another place where FTC really has helped me. A lot of times FTC, especially at like the lower levels before you get to state, the level of play is very low compared to what you might see at a state championship. So focusing on either what the score is, giving a score update, giving a time update, looking at, okay, the Blue Alliance is down, what can they do to come back? That doesn't rely at all on what's happening on the field. You can say, oh, if the Blue Alliance can add 2 more power cubes to the scale, then they're going to start scoring another point per second, they can come back. You just saved yourself 10 seconds of nothing happening to kind of get something out to say that. So mostly turning to strategy, turning to reminders, turning to kind of how is this game working right now? How are the rankings working? We see that, you know, this number robot on the Red Alliance, they're ranked in 9th. If they can come away with 3 ranking points, they're going to hop into 7th. So being well-versed enough in the game to add that flavor without necessarily saying what's happening in front of you, if nothing's happening in front of you.
I really like hearing that type of stuff because it's oftentimes like when you're in the audience, it may not be something that you're really thinking about, like the, you know, beyond the match, like how is this going to affect the team or, you know, affect the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
So Girthworm from FRC 1736, Robot Casserole, who have the coolest driver station ever.
They do.
It's a pizza oven. Wants to know, what's the most exciting moment you've announced through?
Oh boy.
You can pick more than one because I feel like that's a really tough question.
It absolutely is. Possibly this is a selfish one. I'll think of a better one later. The selfish most exciting moment was I was doing an off season in Rockford, and it was my 2nd season announcing ever, and it was aerial assists with the giant medicine ball type things. And Ultimate Protection Squad happened to launch one of them directly at my face mid-match, and it knocked me on my butt. Like, it completely knocked me on the ground. I fell. I was using a handheld mic, so I was a little discombobulated. Managed to keep announcing, so I was really, really proud of myself and just kind of sat there for the remaining minute of the match. So that was exciting. In terms of other excitement, any of the big endgame things are always really, really exciting. I can't think of a particular one from this season. I was working on Tesla, and at the time, OP Robotics had the perfect 4 RP streak, and they were just killing it over on Tesla. And I had never seen OP in person. I'd only watched them on stream, so I was really excited to be watching them. And they had their 4 RP streak going. They were the number 1 team. They were playing against the number 2 or 3 team. And for most of the match, they were actually behind. And it was just incredibly exciting to call through and kind of think about what are the ramifications of this happening. Because even if they get 3 RP, maybe they won't fall from first. But if they lose the match and don't get more than 2 RP, then they might fall to 3rd or 4th. And that's a really big moment to really care about. And it came down literally to one single climb. They ended up winning the match by like a point, and it was because a opposing robot fell below the bricks in the final like 2 seconds of the match. So from this season, that was kind of the most exciting thing to work through.
That's intense. All right, we have another question from Caltran. He wants to know if being a division reliever is a role that somebody can apply for the championship event.
So typically the way assignments work for championship, they all get filled in like September through November generally. And to the best of my knowledge, there isn't too much of a difference in who's assigned, like a primary GA on a subdivision or a backup or reliever GA on a division floating. I've been assigned as both in my time. My first year I was a reliever, my second 2 years I was a primary, and then this year I was a reliever, as well as the primary for energy and Ford Field. So to the best of my knowledge, they're kind of the same pot of people. But to get into that pot, typically it's communicating with Blair or kind of having a reputation as a strong announcer and kind of having I I have a few like videos saved on my YouTube profile that I think are good matches that I can show to someone. If I want to work an event that I've never worked before, it's usually send in a nice email. Hi, I'm Corey. I'm from Chicago. This is what I do. Here's a video. If you think I'd be a good fit for your event, I'd be interested in helping out at it. Let me know. So that's what I'd recommend for champs as well as any event, is contacting the leadership for that role.
Mm-hmm. And I know we had Fiona on from headquarters as a guest on our last Let's Draw Robots, and she recommended people that are definitely interested in like game announcing or emceeing to send Blair your kind of like video of you doing one or the other. That way your name gets out there, and kind of talk about what are your strong points, what can you work on, and so that was some advice from her, and it's good to hear that you're echoing that as well. Mm-hmm. So we have a question from FTC Live. They want to know, if it's the last question. They want to know, how do you balance talking about the game versus talking about what teams can do next in the game? I've been told that talking about what teams should do next is frowned upon in FTC, as announcers shouldn't be dictating strategies.
That's a really good question, and it's a question that I don't have a great answer for, unfortunately. Avoiding coaching is definitely a really big thing to tread carefully around. The two biggest kind of things to watch, I think, in game announcing are prematurely calling penalties and giving strategy. So you never want to tell a team, hey, you should go look at that relic that's just sitting there and move it during the end game for FTC, for example. But it's completely within the realm of possibility to say, if this team can do this, then they will score that many points. I think that falls more under just describing the reality of the game, as opposed to saying, hey, if 3507 moves in and gets in the way of 10-40, then that robot's not going to be able to score anymore. There's kind of a difference in balancing those two kinds of things.
Yeah, and I feel like the way that you describe kind of like the more appropriate thing to do also gives people that may not understand the game at all or not that well, gives them an idea of the gameplay more so than like strategic play for specific teams. So that's really good advice, because I've definitely been at events where the game announcer is either just like completely shit talking a team that's like messing up or not doing that great, or like giving that awkward kind of like strategy from the sideline, and it's like, oh, no, please don't, like please.
Yeah. Yeah, those are kind of the two big pet peeves I find in the GA community are coaching, like straight out coaching, or I just saw this flag go up and I'm going to speculate as to what that flag means. Yeah. Which, if you're not 100% sure, just don't even bother. You can say you saw the flag, but, don't. One thing I've made that mistake is for aerial assist in Auton, teams couldn't cross under the truss in the center of the field. And there was an auto where I talked at length about a robot that did that and talked about how many points it'd be worth, and a flag never went up for it. And that's a really sticky situation to get yourself in that I don't want to recommend to anybody.
All right. And actually, we have one more question from, what does that say? That font is so small. It's Tyler, what is that? There we go. All right. This person's username is Saragon. They want to know, if questions are still open, where do you, Corey, recommend starting out if you want to work up to a game announcer? I'm currently signed up to volunteer at the scoring table at Texas Roundup Invitational Try? Yes, in order to get experience in some key volunteer roles for districts in the future. And since I have zero experience as an MC or a game announcer.
That's a solid question. That's a question a lot of people have. I think it comes down to your personality a little bit. So for me, my start was kind of in pit announcing. Pit announcing is usually far less in demand than game announcing is from the volunteer perspective. People want to call the action, not sit on the other side, never get to see any of the action, and talk about how a team is missing a cable to do something. But that's a really good place to start. It gets your voice on a mic. It gets you learning kind of what your strengths and weaknesses on a mic are. I learned very quickly. I tend to talk fast. I learned that I need to lower my voice when I'm on a mic. I learned to not get too excited and have my voice pitch up or sound like I have question marks at the end of my sentences. So that's a recommendation for me. Being at the scoring table is a great way to learn what is happening at an event. And that's a great place to start, I think, as well, if you really want to focus on becoming a key. You learn so much sitting at the scoring table about how the event is working and what's wrong and what you can do to help. And even though MCs and game announcers are kind of the front-facing flashy role, we're very involved in making sure the event is happening and teams know why we just had a field fall, or teams know why we're sitting around for this team to connect. So score table is also a really good place to get some experience. I also recommend refereeing. Refereeing, you're going to learn the game better than anybody else. And for my particular style of game announcing, which is not everybody's style, refereeing is really beneficial for me to make sure I know the ins and outs.
Yeah, that's really fantastic advice. And I would add, as somebody who runs many district events, districts are great, especially for alumni to hop into key volunteer roles and do a lot of shadowing during events. In New England, especially, our game announcers and MCs have been so good about taking on like college age students and having them kind of co-MC events. One thing that we really look for is somebody who's not just sitting at the scoring table, though. So making sure that you're really involved with like the teams and the event itself, rather than just hanging out behind the scoring table and enjoying like, you know, the front row view of the event. And for pit announcing, one comment we got for feedback at one of our district events this year, we had a totally new person at pit admin doing the announcements, and they didn't do the typical like gazillion announcements of like, all right, you have 2 minutes to get out of the pits. Like, so your interaction with the teams and the relationship that you develop with the pit there is like a huge way to kind of familiarize yourself with the teams, and then kind of show the event staff and the event in general that, you know, you're mindful of like what people need to hear, what people want to hear, and not being like a total jerk on the mic. So
yeah, remembering that it's about the teams and about the audiences is also like a huge thing. Some people tend to, and I'm guilty of this. I mean, like, you don't want to be a diva. Just don't be a diva. No one wants to work with a diva. Mm-hmm. Remember, you're there for the kids. You're there for the audience to have a good time and to understand what's happening, whether that's in front of the curtain or behind the curtain. And I say that because I'm at a regional. So whether you're in the pits or on the field.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. So we're going to do our giveaways. So they will also be receiving my drawing tonight. So I'm glad I'll be mailing this out. So Tyler, will you tell us who our winner is?
Sure. So as mentioned before, we're going to do 2 different giveaways. Somebody's asking what the polls look like, and we got a couple of them. So I'll post this one that Christine and I are wearing at Championship. So depending on what size you are, we either have one that says crew or one that says shoutcaster on it. So that's the poll giveaway. But we're going to start out first with the sticker pack. Christine, what's included in that again?
So we have this awesome Woody Flower sticker with one of my favorite quotes, that being persuasive does not make you right, and being right does not make you persuasive. We have the lovely Rachel Carson, and then our Power Up sticker from this past year.
Awesome. So we'll do that one first. So the winner of that one is going to be PJ Lou. Congratulations. Hey, he's one of our hosts, and if you're not hosting the show, you can win. So there you go. I hope Mike Stark doesn't see this, by
Unless
the way.
you're Mike, yeah.
Yeah, because Mike's not allowed to win. So PJ, congrats. You'll get the stickers from Wordplay All Day. And Christine, thanks for donating those to the show. With that said, the polo, by the way, I'm going to stipulate you do have to be in the U.S. and Canada in order to win this polo, because shipping costs are ridiculous to go to Israel, so I'm sorry about that. But with that said, the winner for that is going to be CDF Man. Congratulations, subscriber. And thank you for subscribing. You win the polo, and we're going to send that out to you. So let's get lots of rigged emotes in chat. We already have some going in there. So lots and lots of rigged emotes, because clearly we rigged it for those 2 people to win. So excellent.
Always.
Congrats, guys.
Awesome. So that's going to wrap it up for Let's Draw Robots. Thank you to everybody who has helped make the show possible. And a huge thank you to Corey for coming out tonight. Corey, anything that you want to plug or leave us with before we leave today? Also, you have to show us your drawing.
All right. So first, I was a little distracted focusing on all these questions you threw me, but it came out okay. I'll keep adding to it. I love the drawing. It was very nice. But thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. So thanks. And if you see me at an event, I love training people. Talk to me. Love to train you. Love to give you some improv exercises or breathing things to help you out. I like training new people, especially alumni, especially women. But if you're interested, feel free to approach anybody in the announcing community.
Are you going to be doing any off-season events this?
I am. I am tentatively scheduled for IRI.
Bam.
I'll be doing
NBD.
the the Rockford event, R2OC, which should be a lot of fun. I'll be doing, there's a FTC Chicago Invitational that I'll be doing, so that should be a lot of fun. The rule changes look phenomenal, so if you're with an FTC team, check out the Chicago FTC Invitational. It's going to be awesome. And then most likely Indie Rage, which is October, and then possibly Girls Gen up in the PNW, which is also October.
You got a full off-season schedule.
It's gonna be fun. I got a little popular this year.
She's going all Cocoette on this.
Oh man. All right. So if you want more First Robotics in your life and you like what we do here on First Updates Now, we would be so delighted to have you click on that follow, or even better, the subscribe button to help support fun and to get some awesome benefits. If you have Amazon Prime, don't forget that you can subscribe to Fun for free, or it's just a few bucks a month. Tyler, so let us know who helped support the show this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. We're going to try doing this for every show, guys, because we really, really, really appreciate those who have stepped up to the plate. So I want to read off people who have either subscribed or given bits. So Bikini Kid subscribing, Lino C subscribing, CDF Man subscribing, and Winnie Apollo, pretty sweet. Garrison Hefter for his bits, thank you very much. Caltran for your bits, thank you. And Garrison also subscribing as well. It's Suspicio subscribing. Man, trying to pronounce names is tough. Cad, thank you for your subscription. Chemical Mace, thank you for your subscription. Matt, 1511, 13 months of support. The Overlord, 6190, 3 months of support. I forgot to mention Suspicial, 15 months. Caltrans, 16 months of awesome support. So thank you, everybody, for your bits and your subscriptions to keep First Updates Now going.
Epic. So just a reminder, during the summer, we'll have a lot of shows going on with fun every Tuesday starting at 8:30 p.m. That's Eastern time. So make sure you stop by and don't forget to check into our Discord to keep the conversation going between shows and to stay up to date on everything fun. So on behalf of myself and our producer Tyler, I would like to thank you for tuning in, and thank you so much, Corey, for dropping by. It was so great to hear so much about you and all of your awesome advice for people that want to get into the game announcing community.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thank you so much for having me.
You can come back anytime. And thank you for all of you that were moderators in chat tonight and all of you that joined in on the conversation. So we'll see you next time on Fun and talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.